All right, Shalom. This is the brother Nahalia from the GMS Orlando camp. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rokah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yashar Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwad, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. This is Matthew chapter 24 and verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the world, and of the end of the world? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars, and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. All right, I want to go into a lesson on the recent news of the back and forth between the U.S., all right, beginning with Trump, and China. All right, this was released today concerning this article. It says China says it is ready for any type of war with the U.S. All right, it says China has warned the U.S. it is ready to fight any type of war after hitting back against President Donald Trump's mounting trade tariffs. The world's top two economies have edged closer to a trade war after Trump slapped more tariffs on all Chinese goods. China quickly retaliated, imposing 10 to 15% tariffs on U.S. farm products. If war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight till the end, China's embassy said on X, reposting a line from a government statement on Tuesday. All right, and I want to go into a lesson on this through the spirit because, again, we know that in these last days we're going to hear about wars and rumors of wars, but we also understand, according to prophecy, that World War III, all right, is prophesied to take place, all right, in the end days. The chip will happen first, the MOTB will happen first, but eventually war will break out on a full scale of global war. All right, but in the midst of that, you're still going to have wars and rumors of wars. An example is the Ukraine-Russia conflict. It's an ongoing war in the midst of rumors of wars. All right, this is Revelation chapter 11 and verse 14. And it reads, the second woe is past, and that second woe was World War II. And behold, the third woe cometh quickly. All right, and when you study history through the spirit, particularly dealing with the First World War and the Second World War, what you find is that they didn't happen in a vacuum. You know, they didn't happen all of a sudden. It wasn't like everything was normal and then somebody woke up the next day and it was just a full-scale war. It was gradually escalated to a point of no return. You know, and often, in many cases, a lot of trade wars end up in real kinetic wars. All right, so what we see happening back and forth with China and the U.S. is not new. All right, this conflict has been brewing under the surface because China's beginning to become if not the top economy on the earth. Why is that? You know, a little background just to sum it up is that a lot of those jobs went overseas to China in particular. You know, perfect example is, you know, Detroit. You know, Detroit was big as far as factories. A factory worker could work a job and pretty much take care of their whole household, all right, off of the job that they had at the factories. Well, a lot of those jobs began to be exported to other countries. And China capitalized off of those jobs being exported to their country. You know, people made the joke in time past about everything being made in China. So China became a manufacturing hub. And one of the top clients, if you will, was America. All right. As far as buying, sending their jobs to China and basically paying China to be the labor and the manufacturer. All right. And through that trade, through that commerce, they were able to build themselves up. And now we see the fruits of that. All right. This is Obadiah 1. And it reads, the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. And for those that don't know, Edom All right, the biblical nationality of the so-called white man as he's known today. His biblical nationality is Edom. It says, we have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. Now I want to jump down to verse 7. It reads, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. All right, because again, at a certain point, China was considered an ally. You know, there was a diplomacy agenda at one point where, the U.S. presidents at one point justified sending the jobs and doing more trade with China, believing that they could convince China to not be a communist nation, that they maybe could convince them to become a democracy, which is basically Esau's way of getting in someone's country and kind of privatizing all of the resources. You know, you make them a democracy, a free trade, and then you bring your corporation in and basically set up shop. But it backfired. You know, they sent those jobs over there to the Chinese. You know, China became a manufacturing hub, and they still remained a communist nation. All right, now Americans still do business in China and with China, yet, they're becoming bigger than the American economy. All right, and this is going to spark, this rivalry, and this rivalry is only escalating. Now let's go back to this article. Before I do that, let me grab this precept as well. This is Joel chapter 3, and I'm going to jump down to verse 9. And it reads, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And one of the ways these other weak nations feel emboldened to say stuff and stand up against America is because they've all kind of joined forces through vehicles like the BRICS. All right, that alliance is allowing these nations that are looking for another option outside of the West, they have somewhere to go to. And as the scriptures say, Russia would be a guard unto them. All right, all of these things are happening according to prophecy. We see the details, but the Lord gave us the broad strokes concerning these nations and how they will conduct themselves and ultimately what the end of it will be. Because we always hear about this conflict between the U.S. and China, and it kind of makes the news and then it kind of dies down. But we know the end goal is ultimately war is going to be prepared. Now, I want to get this word, this Hebrew word for prepare. And it is Kadash. All right. And it says to consecrate, sanctify, prepare. All right. Be hallowed, be holy, be sanctified, be separate. All right. So the Lord is using these tit for tat conflicts, all right, to ultimately bring forth, all right, war. All right. Because wars don't happen in a vacuum. It's a gradual build up, if you will, to the full scale war. All right. Now let's go back to this article because it's going to provide some more detail. And keep in mind, this is just one disagreement of many. All right. You still have the Russian-Ukrainian conflict going on. All right. You still have Syria. It's not in the news as much. But basically, Israel and Turkey are basically carving up Syria. You still have this conflict happening on the continent of Africa, if you will. All right. Where they kicked out the French. They kicked out the Edomites in a lot of these African countries, particularly in the north. All right. And you have this French attempt to intervene. So you have a lot of stages, even when you deal with South Africa. Elon Musk mentioned it not too long ago about how the so-called white South Africans are being kicked off of the land that they stole. All right. And Elon Musk is saying that these are crimes and something should be done and the U.S. should intervene. There's a conversation about that. And I bring these up to show that it's not just one isolated conflict. You know, the walls are beginning to close in, and the Lord is using all of these different disagreements, all right, to forward prophecy. All right, now let's continue. It says, I'm going to read the quote from China again. It says, if war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight till the end. Now, keep in mind, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, China wouldn't have talked like that, man. All right, they wouldn't have had the gusto, if you will, to speak up like this. All right, this is Isaiah chapter 14 and 9, and it reads, hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? And this is why China feels so emboldened to speak to the U.S. like that, because they look at them as equals. All right, that whole America being over these other nations, they're starting to buck up against that order. And eventually the bucking up against that order is going to result in World War III. All right, now let's continue. It says, if war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight to the end. China's embassy said on X, reposting a line from a government statement on Tuesday. It is some of the strongest rhetoric so far from China since Trump became president, and comes as leaders gather in Beijing for the annual National People's Congress. Now let's continue. It says on Wednesday, China's Premier Li Qiang announced that China would again boost its defense spending by 7.2% this year, and warned that changes unseen in a century were unfolding across the world at a faster pace. And what's the changes? Ultimately, the changes are prophecy. All right. Now, they've increased their budget as far as war, and that goes back to prophecy. All right. Again, this is Joel chapter 3 and verse 10. It reads, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. So this increase in the defense spending isn't isolated to just China. When you look across the globe, many countries are increasing their budget for defense. And why? Because they're in preparation. Because, again, the tensions on the global stage are at an all-time high. All right. And this is not 50, 60 years ago, people talking about nuclear war would be it will bring a shock to the ears if you heard conversations about nuclear war on mainstream media. Now it's just another Tuesday, which shows you that the temperature is increasing. But again, most people are willfully ignorant. You know, they're not watching for these things, and they don't equate these things to prophecy. So they see no sense of urgency, as in the days of Noah. Yet these tensions are increasing. All right. This is I'm going to continue. It says leaders in Beijing are trying to send a message to people in China that they are confident the country's economy can grow, even with the threat of a trade war. And see, what the average American doesn't realize is that trade wars affect you and your pockets. You know, there was a video that came out weeks ago, if not months ago, of a guy who deals in tariffs. He deals in imports and exports. And he was basically informing an average American who assumed that the tariffs would cost China. And he had to correct him and tell him, no, the tariffs, the increase, all right, that tariff tax, if you will, is paid by the companies within the states. And as a result, they end up increasing their prices to compensate for the tariffs. So really, the people on the ground who spend money, they're more affected. You know, this assumption that a trade war means that China has to pay this and America has to pay that. No, it really affects the citizens, you know, which, again, is going to be a part of prophecy concerning the building blocks that lead up to sedition. Because you had a lot of so-called Trump supporters who got on the internet and basically said, we didn't sign up for this. We didn't get you in the office to make our life harder. We thought you were just going to fix everything, which is basically what he sold them on. And now things are still costing them more. Their personal lives are still in the same situation it was in, if not worse than Biden. And now they're getting on the internet and saying, "Oh, we ain't signed up for this." But trade wars affect the average citizen. All right, you end up paying more at the pump or at the grocery store as a result, or even at the restaurant if you want to go out. All of those ingredients that are taxed and tariffed, the restaurant or whatever business, they have to increase the prices to compensate for those tariffs. And China's saying, look, we're not backing down. All right. The look that's more stout than their brethren concerning these Edomites, it doesn't work like it used to. All right. Like it says in Isaiah the 14th chapter, art thou become weak as we? And on the world stage, the American Edomite hasn't got the memo that you're not running things like you used to. That even though you're in the power seat, so to speak, other nations are starting to try to figure out a workaround. And they're so confident and emboldened, according to prophecy, that they're able to speak against you. All right. China being a chief example in this article. Now let's continue. It says, China has been keen to portray an image of being a stable, peaceful country in contrast to the U.S., which Beijing accuses of being embroiled in wars in the Middle East and Ukraine. China may also hope to capitalize on Trump's actions relating to U.S. allies, such as Canada and Mexico, which have also been hit by tariffs, and will not want to ramp up the rhetoric too far to scare off potential new global partners. The premier's speech in Beijing on Wednesday emphasized that China will continue to open up and hope to attract more foreign investment. China has in the past emphasized that it is ready to go to war. Last October, President Xi called for troops to strengthen their preparedness for war as they held military drills around the self-governing island of Taiwan. But there is a difference between military preparedness and a readiness to go to war, which shows you that these drills they're not just routine. They treat these drills as if these things are going to play out in real life, because they are. All right, that is the reality. That is why they're going through the trouble of increasing their defense spending budget. While the president of China is talking to the military and basically telling the guys in the military, look, don't just treat this like a drill. All right, prepare for war, as it says in Joel the 3rd chapter in the 9th verse. Now, with all of this happening, all right, keep in mind that China as a country is pretty much further along as far as the image of the beast concerning this technology, this control through technology image that's being constructed in the West. In the East, in China, is pretty much further along. All right, they already have a social credit score where if you speak against the government, all right, if you do something that's deemed undesirable, all right, they can lower your social credit score, and they can control what you can and can't purchase, and where you can go within the country. If your credit score, your social credit score gets low enough, you may not even be able to leave your town or your city. And I'm talking about within the country of China, let alone leaving the country in general. All right, and I want to bring this out to land back that point. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and 46. And thou, Asia, that art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person, woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her. Yeah, because, just because these Moabites, all right, which are the so-called Chinese, their biblical nationality is Moab, just because they're going against the West, it doesn't make them good guys, and it doesn't mean that the Lord is with them. The Lord is using them, like all the other nations on the chessboard, to accomplish prophecy. All right. 2nd Ezra 15 and 47 again reads, woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her, and hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee. Thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, thus saith Yahweh Shai, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. And the glory of thy power shall be dried up as a flower. The heat shall arise that is sent over thee. So the Lord is making a statement, just like he makes with Russia in Ezekiel 38th chapter, that he's against these nations, even though he's sending them against, Babylon, the daughter of Babylon, mystery Babylon, which is America. Even though the Lord is sending them against mystery Babylon, the Lord is also against them as well. All right. And this is a beautiful thing because we're literally witnessing prophecy. All right. These are the details that we're witnessing through the Spirit that lead up to these major prophecies that we read about through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. And that's why the scriptures say this as well. And I'll end it with this. It's Matthew chapter 13 and 16. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them. All right, so with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasha Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word,